get it started. My name is John Lawson. I'm the organizer here for the local Atlanta chapter of the eCommerce merchants. So what you've got here is a panel that's pretty much diverse, just like you are diverse in what you do. But they all are very expert in their field of knowledge. We've got Brandon Ely. And Brandon, go ahead and tell them who you are, what you do, and why they should listen to you.
All right. I'm Brandon. I'm the Interactive Director at Kelsey Advertising and Design. I also own an e-commerce business called Two Big Feet. And then I also just wrote a book about online marketing a year ago called Online Marketing Inside Out. If you're interested in it, I've got some cards. I can give you a card.
Cool. All right. The other person we've got is Mr. Charles Lumpkin. He's formerly of Charles Lumpkin and Associates, but now he decided to cash out. So he's the man now. Charles, tell them why they should listen to you, man.
I've been doing online marketing for many years now. Done a lot of both paid search and SEO marketing for lots of big clients here across the nation. More recently been doing a tremendous amount of Facebook advertising. So a lot of my experience revolves around buying media to acquire new customers. So.
Cool. All right, and last but not least, this one is Mr. Brent Leary.
I do a lot in terms of speaking with companies like Microsoft and BlackBerry and Sage and Intuit, helping them understand how to reach the small business market when it comes to CRM products.
I mean, these guys travel across the country, paid speaking engagements, tens of thousands, literally, just to get them to speak. Look,
I'll talk to y'all later.
And so they came out to our little meetup, you know, and it's really cool. How or does that matter to me as an e-commerce owner?
I would think it does. You've been able to buy TV from Google, at least remnant inventory from this remnant inventory is the inventory that's left over after big advertisers have purchased their big campaigns, right? So it's stuff that's left over. And they give that to companies like Google, and you know, guys like you and me, we've been able to go out and buy TV ads through the Google AdWords interface for the last year or so. Before that, they did some radio as well through that, but. We're ushering in a new era of TV, right? So DVRs were kind of the first thing, and you've got like stuff like Apple TV, which you just kind of go and buy your stuff. We're gonna kind of get rid of advertising broadcast as we know it. So we're gonna start honing into smaller audiences, smaller niches with smaller interests, much like we're seeing Facebook heading towards, right? So we see a lot of these trends in Facebook where it's kind of really understanding deeply what a person is interested in, advertising a relevant message to them, and I believe that's probably what we'll see Google TV go as well.
That's good stuff.
I definitely see Google rolling out this TV interface. It's going to be free. Everything they do is pretty much free. It's going to blow the socks off of Apple TV, which I have at home. I mean, I love it. But the downside is, if you don't have a screaming fast internet connection, it takes you 10 hours to download a movie, even on a high-speed internet connection. They're just massive.
Yeah.
So Google's going to roll out streaming. They're going to roll out Netflix integration, all these other things, and everybody's going to use it because it's free. And then they're going to start pushing ads to it because they're going to make money somehow. And that's where this advertising platform comes in. That's where people are going to be able to target. Okay, I want to target this ad to people who watch these types of shows, to people who have these types of demographics.
Right.
And I think it's going to be very powerful.
But keep an eye on what's going on with YouTube right now and how they're connecting Google, Gmail with YouTube. If you notice, if you have a Gmail account, if you go into Google, go to YouTube, it'll say up front all the folks that you're connected with in Gmail and ask you if you want to subscribe to their channel. So you can see all this stuff coming down the line. It'll all end up going into everything that Google does.
So, I mean, overview now, just kind of wrapping up just from what you guys are saying, especially what you started off with, and then kind of where you ended up with. You're saying basically that once Google TV comes out, it's going to be a free service. It's going to give content at a faster rate than like you've got right now with Apple, and then they're going to throw content on top, but not content, but content advertising,
right.
But it's going to be niche based.
Right.
And on top of that, it's going to have this social kind of component to it, where everybody that's into the same things that are in your network, you're going to be able to sign up to their content and get that sent to you on the TV screen.
I could definitely see that coming.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Now-
everything is contextual with Google. So if you open up an email in Gmail with the subject line of CRM, I get an ad that says, look at salesforce.com. You're gonna, when you look at a YouTube video, you see ads that are contextual to the video. So everything they do is content married with context. So it means something to the person who's actually viewing.
What do you do when you have large fees, right? I mean, there's no way you could physically put a retail store in every city in the country because there's so small a percentage of the population that has big feet. So there's no way those work. They're working. There's a couple around the country in really huge cities, and that's it. There is frequency. So, but they're very, very few and far between. But there are people with big feet all over the world, and what do they do when they can't find shoes? They go to Google and they type big shoes or large shoes or big feet or whatever. And if you don't come up in the top 10 search results, you might as well count it out. They're not going to keep scrolling. But Google offers that paid option that you can show up on the top of those or to the right of those search results. And for 50 cents, you can show up over there, and every 5 or 6 people clicks on your ad, you're paying like $5 for somebody to come over to your website. I mean, you think about using that customer. Once you've got that customer, you're marketing to them through email, through CRM, through mailings, through all these other means. You make $1,000 off them through the course of their life, and it costs you like $10.
Brent, I'm going to pull this over all the way to you, man, because, I was just talking to you last week, and you were talking about the importance of Gmail in this whole mix for Google and why their ads are important in their Gmail. What
Percentage of your interactions on social networks are truly business related? Most of the time when I ask that question, it's more around 5 to 10%.
Okay.
All right, so let me ask you, for your email interactions, what percentage of your email interactions are business related?
Over 50% business.
Over 80%.
How about over 80%?
90. Yeah. So it's 5 to 10 versus 80 or 90%. Gmail has over 180 million users. How many emails go out a day? About 500 billion emails go out every day. So if you figure 80% of those interactions are business-based compared to the interactions that you have on social networks, that tells you where the foundation of business communications is still today. It's with email. And what Google is able to build business interaction social network based off of the main things, which are email and search. They still own those two things. Well, they don't own email, but they're closing the gap on everybody else quicker than anybody else. So that's why I think Google and Gmail and all the things that Google is doing, you have to be aware of, because they are starting to lose the boundaries between how to build business relationships. They're building it based on your activities, not based off of social stuff that really doesn't have a lot to do with business right now.
Charles, I mean, really, if I've never done anything on that, what's a good way to get started on advertising with those Google AdWords?
Well, before I'd actually start with Google AdWords, I'd go and start with Bing now. And that's because it's so cheap. And honestly, even someone like me or anybody on my team, we go out and we start an AdWords account now and we get brutalized. And we're professionals. Like, we set the things up with best practice, and Google kicks our tail for the first.
You can say ass.
I can say ass. He sent me a personal note. Please don't drop F-bombs. I'm like, all right. It's not nearly as brutal at Bing right now. In a lot of markets, you're going to pay an order of magnitude less for your clicks, okay? It's not as hard to get in there and just start advertising, right? The hump is not as big. So start your search marketing. If you've got a small budget, okay, in a limited budget environment, start your search marketing efforts with Bing. Take your learnings and your knowledge from there and port it over to Google, and then port it to Yahoo. So if I were you, that's a good step to just kind
What's the name of that?
yeah, Microsoft Bing. It's Ad Center.
Bing.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, traffic that's coming from Bing and our e-commerce sites seems to convert like 25% better than Google.
I see that.
And that's
a lot.
for both the paid and the organic. Just the traffic from Bing seems to convert better. Now, I'm sure that's going to change industry to industry, but right now it just seems
I'll
like
confirm that in many other industries